of course, the FBI and the district attorney's office reached out to Jody Chandler and a number of the other victims of Michael Jackson. And unfortunately, Wade and Jimmy Safechuck did not want to cooperate with law enforcement. There were other people that they reached out to as well that did not want to cooperate. Jody Chandler said he would cooperate, but then some things that happened, he realized it's going to create a huge problem in his life if he did come forward. So he didn't want to go through that again. And he said he wouldn't do it at this point. But if the case failed to convict Michael Jackson, that he would go forward with a federal case against Michael Jackson after that trial was over. Unfortunately, that trial was delayed long enough to where the statute of limitations on Jordy's case had lapsed federally. So we could not bring a case against Michael for what he did to Jody Chandler.
Oh, God. Well, I think a lot of people don't understand that the might of Michael Jackson's legal team and their investigators and the pressure that they were able to bring to bear on Wade and to Jimmy to get Wade to help him again, that he did not want to testify. And he told Michael he didn't want to testify, but that Michael kept saying, we can't let them do this to us.
Yeah.
To us.
Yeah. And he said that he got a subpoena. I don't know if he got a subpoena or not, but Michael's legal team might have sent him a letter or said he was going to get a subpoena. You can't just, people are saying, well, he never got a subpoena from them. They never sent a subpoena. Well, he's not a lawyer. And he believed, at least at this point, he believed it was a subpoena. It could have been a letter. It could have been a request. It could have been a threatened subpoena. Who knows what it was? But the fact is that he did it, and he's now explained it. He's explained it forthrightly, directly, and I believe him. I believe that Michael put pressure on him, and I believe he was not thinking of it as abuse the way the criminal system looks at it in his mind. And it wasn't until he had a child of his own, and when he looked at that baby boy and saw him and how innocent he was, he thought, oh my God, now I understand. And if Michael did to him what he did to me, I would be horrified. And that actually is a very typical response of victims. They don't feel what was happening to them was catastrophic enough. And that's why they're doing what they're doing. And they have every right to do what they're doing. And the fact that you're standing up for someone who very well may have sexually molested numbers of kids, just the fact that he may have, should give you pause. I believe the victims that have come forward, and I believe there are more victims, and I know of more victims who are about to come forward.
Right.
And they have a lot of credibility, and there is definitely more that is going to come out about Michael Jackson and sexual victimization of boys.
Well, some of the criticisms that I hear, the deniers, are that why did Wade testify as an adult in the Gavin Arvizo trial, which decimated the prosecution, and we've talked about that, and they weren't somehow able to combat that, which
I just don't know why it's relevant, first of all. But the fact is, it did influence the jury, and that's unfortunate. But the reason why he did it was multiple. One is that he still, at that time, believed that although Michael Jackson engaged in sexual activity with him, he did not see it as abusive or illegal. He saw it as Michael loved him and expressed that love. Two, Wade Robson is a straight male. And to get on the stand and testify in front of cameras and the entire world that he, quote, allowed Michael Jackson when he was 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, years old, to engage in sexual activity with him. That's a very difficult thing for any young man to do. You have to be extremely secure in your sexuality in order to make that admission. And he wasn't. So just for those two reasons alone. And the third reason was very compelling because Michael kept telling him he had to do it. Michael begged him to do it. Michael wanted him to do it to protect him and their relationship. And the fact is, what Michael was doing was admitting that he's a sexual offender and that he molested boys. And he's also admitting that he suborned perjury. And it's just, those are just additional crimes. And it is sad. It breaks my heart that Wade couldn't have come forward back then, because it would have saved a tremendous amount of pain and suffering on the part of Gavin Arvizo. But Michael Jackson fans, realize this. If Wade Robson had actually disclosed back then, Michael Jackson would be alive right now, sitting in prison, but he'd be alive.
Yeah.
He's dead. Yep. He's dead in part because he was able to pull off this scam and get boys who he sexually victimized to cover for him. That's one of the reasons why he's dead right now, why he was such a drug addict, why he couldn't sleep at night. He had to know that he was hurting these boys. He had to know. And he's a human being. And somewhere in there, he knew right from wrong. If he didn't know right from wrong, then he wouldn't have hidden his sexual victimization.
Did law enforcement find pictures of child sexual victimization at Neverland?
What they found was they found 4 computer hard drives that were literally fried in a suitcase in his, what I'll call his jerk-off room. It was like a hallway with videotapes and an easy chair and a jar of Vaseline and Kleenex.
What?
Yes. Whoa. And if I'm not mistaken, there was an overlook to the game room below, but I don't know if it was there or somewhere else. I can't remember right now. I can't remember the layout. But there was a secret entrance down to the game room. And then they also found images, and I think they were of a photo shoot with Michael Jackson's nephew, Taj. I think he was still a teenager, and he was very scantily clad in like a ripped cloth over his shoulders and around his waist. And I remember the picture showing Michael Jackson grabbing it and trying to rip it off this naked kid. And there's a picture that's on the internet that I don't know if the kid if he's a child. So we'll only we'll have to black it out if we post it, because I'm not going to post something that could potentially be child pornography. But it's a picture of Michael. And you see that?
Oh my, yes.
So there are pictures in this series where he's actually grabbing that cloth and trying to rip it off him, laughing and joking and trying to get him naked. And he's virtually naked in this picture. This is his nephew, this 40-something-year-old man standing next to his barely naked nephew.
How old is his nephew in that picture? He looks older.
He might be 17, he might be 19. I don't know. Yeah. But it's still his nephew. And why is he posing in a picture where Michael's shirt is open, exposing his chest, and this kid's chest, he's
basically naked.
Upper body is basically naked. He's got no underwear on. You can see his pubic hair, and he's pulling down the thing that's around his waist so that he's exposing his pubic hair right next to Michael Jackson. It's disgusting. And that there was a whole series of photographs like that. Like I said, they were outtake photographs where Michael was trying to rip this cloth off of him.
Right.
And I don't know if he actually did. There was no photograph of that. But there's that. And then there's the book that's child erotica, the book of nude boys, this artistic book of nude boys that is, supposedly just art. But in fact, if Michael was using it for sexual gratification, then it's child pornography. But he had that. And, clearly he scoured his place and got rid of a lot of stuff and burnt 4 of the hard drives.
Right.
So anyway, it's just he was able to get away from it. But if somebody else go online and pull up pictures of girls lifting up their shirts, exposing their breasts and saying, got milk. And you'll see, in the future, I think there'll be more of that coming out. So we'll make sure we stay on this story, and there's information coming out shortly about that, and it will corroborate that kind of thing.